So, I was at work the other day.
Yeah.
And, we were busy. I was working. I was like, packing up orders, getting it ready, all that stuff. We finally slow down a little bit. And I go to check my phone. And I see a 1 hour old notification from Amazon saying, hey, this thing that you had on your watch list or whatever called a PlayStation 5, hey, those are ready for stock. And I said, oh, shit! So I click on it, and I go, oh, man, I'm gonna get it. Oh, sold out.
Work screwing you once again.
Yeah.
Too busy to look.
Yeah, if I was on that...
if you saw that,
if I saw it,
definitely just said, I'm going
to I would have been there.
Yeah.
Would have been there.
And now you don't have it.
I don't have it. But it turns out like a lot, like... I assume they only had like 20 units available or something, because them shit sold out. Like, I went online and everyone was like, yeah, no, I didn't get one.
That being said, though, really, if you already got a notification that you could have had a window to get a PS5, just keep your eye open. It could come out pretty soon here.
I mean, it won't.
It won't, but it could. I mean, like, imagine you saw that an hour before.
Imagine.
You could have a PS5 right now.
I mean, the site probably would have crashed, and I probably would have lost my opportunity that way.
But see, you would never find out if you're not there paying attention
in the
to what
moment.
happened.
Gotta live in the moment, Connor.
Yeah,
gotta live in the moment.
Can't think of what can, what should be, what might be.
It's not like my income was on the line or anything.
What? Oh, well. Yeah, it kind of was.
Anyways. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott.
And my name is Connor Elliott, and you're not going to introduce me. I am going to introduce myself.
Why do you do this? Why do you do this?
I gotta change things up. Gotta change up the formula.
Say hi to the people, Connor.
I already said hi.
No,
I don't need you to tell me to say hi.
You said who your name was, and
yes,
you said you're going to introduce yourself.
Elliott, yes,
but you didn't say hi to the people.
Oh, I should have given my last name. I said my version of hi. That's it. We can move on now.
You're a pain in the ass. You're such a pain in the ass.
Well, why do you have me on here then?
Because no one else will do this show with me, Connor.
Well, here we are. You have to deal with it then.
Anyways, we are just two gaming buds who come in every week and talk to you about gaming news. We give you 2 topics each, our 2 pennies, if you will, and give you our 2 cents on them. And we give that to you every Monday, 8 a.m., YouTube and SoundCloud. Follow, subscribe, hit the bell, like it, leave a comment, all that bullshit.
Give some love.
Give some love. Get that traction going, please, God, because nobody watches this.
Hey, I saw 11 views on the other video. That's the highest I've seen.
The last 2 were like 2. But
I saw 11. That's all you need.
Hey, that's all we need. We're breaking double digits.
Yeah,
sometimes.
That's the one time. I only saw the one time.
What episode was that? Do you remember?
I don't. Maybe 9.
Why did it break double digits?
I don't know. I saw one with 11. I don't know who watched it.
There are a couple that I'm like, okay, why does this have 3 but this one has like 15? Like, why?
Well, it's kind of weird of people to come across that kind of stuff, I guess.
We hit the algorithm just right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gave us a little bit of love at that point.
Anyways, Connor, it's the new console season.
Yes, and neither of us have any.
Neither of us have new consoles. Yeah. But turns out that might be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
because we're gonna jump into your first penny of the day, and that is. The Xbox Series X seems to be having disk drive problems.
Yes.
This is a report from Polygon by Patricia Hernandez. Excuse me. And it says, it's console launch week, which means that many fans are now opening and starting up their new hardware, while for most part, the Xbox Series X debut seems to be going well. Some fans are reporting issues with their disk drives. Videos floating around on the internet shows the Xbox Series X whirring loudly or making strange noises, making strange clicking sounds after accepting a disc. Excuse me. That's if the console accepts the game at all. Some videos show the Xbox Series X having trouble with game insertion, and it's just a whole bunch of videos of just people not getting these discs to work.
No.
Some players report that things improve if they put their consoles horizontally or vertically. One thread on Reddit has players saying they're brute forcing their games into the console. Others, meanwhile, say that they only hear loud sounds from Xbox Series X while installing games, though nothing on the level of the videos above. Microsoft did not return a request for comment in time For press, folks at Polygon who got the console early for review also have not experienced problems like these. For now, it seems like if you happen to be experiencing this problem, the best thing you can do is try and get into contact with Xbox support services, though the official, quote, known issues page doesn't currently include anything about disk drive. Update. Microsoft hasn't acknowledged the disk drive issue specifically, but it's encouraging users to check out their devices and troubleshoot problems via the official page. And then I have a tweet here that says, from Xbox support that says, at Microsoft, we put all of our products through rigorous quality assurance testing. We encourage any customers who experience issues with their hardware to visit, and then it's a link for fastest self-support assistance.
Now, it seems like this is a very specific problem that some people are having. It doesn't seem to be widespread as of yet, because I read a couple of the reviews. Polygon said they never had any of their own copies malfunction this way, and I hadn't heard about it before. Just these independent users on Twitter and YouTube are the ones that I've seen posting this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We
also had a little bit of a, would you call it a scandal? Would you call it a scandal
or
of just a bunch of hoax videos of people blowing vape smoke into their Xbox Series X, I believe through the bottom, and it would come out through the top.
Something like that.
And people would record the smoke coming out through the top and be like, "My Xbox is smoking."
Some people just like to cause trouble for no reason at all.
Did you see the Xbox response to that?
What was that?
Oh my god, it was hilarious. It was a tweet that said, "I can't believe we have to say this, but don't blow vape smoke into your console."
I actually bought into that story for a second until I found out it was a hoax. But then I found out about this one, and I was thinking, well, is this fake too? But it turns out these seem to be legitimate.
I feel like this is more legitimate.
Yeah. Like I said, not really a widespread problem.
One, because I don't know how you manufacture this.
Yeah, you don't make those noises, like, unless you have like a copying machine behind you playing those noises.
Yeah, or like, also just like videos of like the thing spitting the disc out like instantly, and you can't like get it in. I mean, it's unfortunate that some people are having these aren't cheap toys.
No, I know.
$400.
Yeah,
$400. Or is it $500? I think it's $500, and then the Xbox Series X is. No, it's $400. God, I'm tripping. There's a lot of information to keep off the top of your head. But $400, $500 console, and it doesn't work out the box.
No,
the way you want it to. Now, personally, these people should just, get with the program and have all their games digitally.
No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't be.
Come on.
Listen, one of the things that I use my Xbox One for is a glorified Blu-ray player. So, if something like this does...
again,
this could be used
just buy all your DVDs fucking digitally. Buy all your movies digital.
That's lame.
Get it on your Google Plays.
You can't
get it on your Amazons.
You can't get copies of the Criterion Collection on digital. You can't do that. You have to get them in the box.
Okay, don't be a weeb.
That's not even weeb.
You see to the extent I'm going here to
I know.
Not even weeb. I don't even know what is this thing?
Criterion Collection are a group of movies that are like classic movies that have been basically put into 4K. I think some of them are in 60 FPS. Very, very high quality movies that some of them are usually...
It's just like a collection of what are deemed classics, or
collections. No, they're all individual movies. So it's not like it's sold in box sets. It's sold individually. So sometimes they'll say, "Here's the new Criterion."
So it's like a Hall of Fame type thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's
like, hey, this movie's so dope, and it's stood the test of time long enough that we're gonna.
Or it could have been hard to get a copy originally, and it's the remastered version of that, so you can easily watch it.
Okay, that's cool.
But either way, with Xboxes and any console with a disc drive, that's one function that's just completely gone. If something like this does not work, which it seems like it just takes a little bit of finagling for them to actually get the disc to get in the console and to properly run whatever.
They're saying they have to force it in.
Yes. If this becomes more of a problem, I could see them doing some sort of possible, free fix for the console.
Yeah. Well, they should.
Yeah, they should, but
it doesn't seem as widespread as like the Joy-Con drift that we had with the Switch,
or the red ring of death, as we
which
also could be a worry for some people that maybe later down the line this is going to be one of those consoles that even though it's really good out of the box, it could deteriorate over time. This is one of those things where it's kind of hard.
Maybe, I doubt it. I'm sure,
doubt that as well.
Especially after the red ring. Like, I'm sure they were like, "Oh, we can't have that again."
But still, the possibility does exist for both this Xbox and PlayStation. But those kinks can be worked out.
I haven't
if they
seen any
ever pop
complaints
up.
on the PlayStation side yet.
Neither have I. No, it just the difficulty of getting the PlayStation has been the only thing I've seen said about that.
Fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Though I don't know if you can get an Xbox Series X either.
No, but I've seen, only
Specifically,
PS5
like
problem.
PlayStation, like you just can't.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers just can't get it. Well, it's because they botched it at the front of the sale thing.
In addition to them of just having a very popular console.
Anyways, speaking of popular, Connor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a chance. I don't know where I was going with this. Let's just jump. I'm just gonna jump straight into my first penny of the day. And we're gonna talk about some Apex Legends, Connor. I like Apex Legends. I wish our group of friends liked it so that we could play it together.
I haven't played it even in a while. And
I haven't played it. I think the last time I played it was with you.
It's very, very large in my PC, which I have it on now.
Oh, really?
I've tried to save space, but it's a fun game.
I love Apex.
I'd be playing it if I could. Still has a high player base, so it's
Connor,
good for itself.
Apex has been criticized again for not having enough content drops. And their response is interesting. So, I've got an article from PC Gaming here by Rich Stanton. Apex Legends won't be getting quads and Respawn refuses to crunch. Following the recent U-turn over Apex Legends Season 7 Battle Pass, some of Respawn's developers bravely took to Reddit to field community questions. There were a lot of recriminations and gnashing of teeth about corporate overlords, but amongst it all were some insights about Apex's future and Respawn's culture. Apex launched with trios, 3-person squads, before adding the option to play in duos, which would be 2-person squads, for those following at home. I know, trios. Duos.
I was
real hard to follow sometimes.
Trios is weird. I never heard that term before. Not gonna lie.
In trios?
Yeah, never heard that before.
I mean, what else do you call it?
3-team. I mean, like it's a shorthand way of saying
It's
it.
a word. It's a single word versus.
Yeah, this is the first time I heard it.
You're ridiculous.
You don't say that.
You are ridiculous.
Yeah, you literally don't have to say that.
You know that moment in Harry Potter when they're fighting the boggart? You are the boggart right now, and I'm using the spell ridiculous on you because you're ridiculous.
That was a dumb reference to this conversation. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Ever since there's been the open question, ever since adding duos, there's been the open question of whether the game would be adding quads, and the answer is no. Jason McCord, a design director on Apex, writes, quote, "We don't have any plans to release quads. We needed to decide this early on in testing. Trios is the magic number for us. That's when the legend composition really shines and the X-Men vs. Avengers fantasy starts to shine through. When you play quads, which we tested early on, the combat becomes nearly untrackable. It's chaotic in a negative way," end quote. McCord went on to list problems that, while solvable, means quads won't be part of the game's future. Quote, "This chaos wouldn't be a total deterrent for a limited time mode if the rest of the game wasn't designed around trios. Our lobby, for example, is designed for 3 players. Our loot distribution is designed for 3 people per squad. Even something like banners placed around the map don't have room for a 4th. These are all technically solvable problems with enough effort, but because we feel that trios is the sweet spot, we aren't pursuing quads currently," end quote. Respawn's community engagement is good, certainly relative to the competition. It's all too easy to dunk on the developer for screwing up with the Battle Pass launch, but the fact is it responded fast, acknowledged the mistake, and has made concrete changes in response to player feedback. Apex Legends game director... I've screwed up my thing. Hold on. Where was I? Apex Legends game director Chad Greener got into the Battle Pass argument and ended his explanation for the mistakes made by saying, quote, "Please keep in mind that Respawn always has your interests in mind, so please assume positive intent," end quote. In a pure example of internet discourse at its finest, this resulted in Tyrannical 01 describing his words as, quote, "a massive lie."
Well,
I hate the internet. To his credit, Grainer resisted the urge to respond in kind. He instead addressed the charge that Apex doesn't deliver enough content updates and limited time modes, pointing out it has, quote, "a lot of LTMs," end quote. And the current format works before adding, quote, "We also refuse to crunch the team, so we'll probably be slower at making content than if we worked 15-hour days. But that's just not something we're willing to do. We have nearly doubled our team size since launch to accommodate the current demands, so we're really trying to bring you quality content at a healthy pace. Connor!
That's a very different kind of attitude to what we've seen in the past.
It's almost refreshing.
Yeah.
To no excuses, no, hey, we all were, we're all just passionate. None of that. It's, hey, we're not going to do that.
Now,
it's bad for our team, and we're not going to do it.
I believe them, but correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously we've had the
this is also not the first time that they've said this.
No, it is not the first time they've said it, but correct me if I'm wrong, if this is not the specific studio, but I think CD Projekt Red said they weren't doing crunch in regards to Cyberpunk. Obviously, we covered that they are.
They said they were doing their best to fight crunch.
Yes, and we saw them, not really do that.
No, obviously that didn't work.
Yeah, but, things like that, from what they say to the public to what they're actually doing, can be a bit blurry, because unless we actually have the developers telling us that there is or isn't crunch, we have no way of knowing. But, going into that, I haven't heard anything from any developers.
I believe them when they say they don't work 15-hour days.
I believe that as well.
I believe them when they say, hey, we've doubled our team size, we're trying.
Yeah, especially
but we're not going to kill ourselves over this.
No, they're not putting out as much content as they
and also
would prefer they are.
Respawn deserves some credit, man. Titanfall 1 and 2 were phenomenal shooters. Apex Legends is a fantastic shooter. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was a pretty solid game. Definitely the best Star Wars game to come out in the last 10 years.
Yeah. It's good you framed it that way, because I know Knights of the Old Republic fans would just...
Oh, no. KOTOR, I think, is still the best Star Wars game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand by that.
Not Force Unleashed?
No. Not Force Unleashed.
Not Force Unleashed?
No. Force Unleashed is fun, but Force Unleashed is nowhere near the best Star Wars game.
You pull a Star Destroyer from the sky.
You do.
Cool.
It's a great moment. I read the novelization of that game.
Oh, the canon novels of the Star Wars universe.
No.
But
anyways,
yeah.
Back to Respawn. This is a developer who has time and time again over this last generation just delivered quality title after quality title. And if they're doing it without crunching their dev team, fucking more power to them.
Yeah.
Now, this is assuming that this extends past the Apex team.
Yeah.
And, I assume a Fallen Order 2 is coming. And, assuming they didn't crunch for Fallen Order 1, assuming they're not doing it for 2, assuming they didn't have to crunch for Titanfalls, this sounds great.
If that is
that's
true,
a lot of assuming.
It is a lot of assuming, but if it is a correct assumption, that could be a good example of how the model should be.
And there's other examples of other dev teams, usually smaller teams,
right.
Who don't have to crunch. But also, it's worth noting, Apex Legends is a game as service game. This game doesn't end. So, yeah, they have to have manageable hours, or else their team is going to kill themselves.
Yeah.
Because the game will never end. I'm sure the guys over at Fortnite fucking hate life.
They're always putting out something.
They're constantly putting out stuff. So unless their team is the biggest dev team of all time, and I'm sure it's quite large, especially since Fortnite has blown up in its Battle Royale mode. There were reports early on that those first few months were tough for those dev teams. And even you brought up Cyberpunk. I think there's an argument to be made that it's easier to say, hey, we're not crunching when you're a games of service, especially a proven games of service like Apex, when the stress of launching the game is already gone.
Yeah.
That
is true.
As long as you have a roadmap, your investors are more, and you're keeping to that schedule, your investors are more or less happy with you. Whereas for Cyberpunk, if you don't hit that launch, it looks badly on you, to your investors, money slows down, et cetera, et cetera. These are all bigger problems that I have no solutions for. And all of this is me hypothesizing, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, we're already making assumptions about whether Respawn actually crunches for their other games, Yeah. It's hard to know what always goes down.
I believe them for this one.
For
this one. I believe their Apex team doesn't crunch.
No. And hopefully
especially because they've doubled down on it and they keep saying it. They're like, we're not going to kill ourselves over this.
Yeah.
We're not.
That seemed to be their prime defense in a lot of these, where's our game stuff? So, considering that, I don't think they're going to start crunching.
And you know what? Credit due, them being able to work this way and put at their own pace, that should be an attestament to EA as well. Because they could push it and say, no, fuckers, get something out every month.
Yeah.
And they don't. So, it's a little tip of the hat. Good job, EA. You didn't fumble the softest toss of all time. But speaking of fumbling soft tosses, Connor, let's go ahead. These transitions are terrible.
Yeah,
let's go ahead.
They're creative.
Let's go ahead and jump into my second penny of the day. Ubisoft apologizes for ableist language in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Ableist meaning people who are able to do things, and if you're ableist, you're discriminatory against people who are handicapped.
Yes,
that's what that means, Connor.
That's what that means.
In case you didn't know,
I had known that.
Mr. Journalism degree.
I had known that. Not what they teach us in journalism school, but I know that.
Anyways, this is from PC Gamer by Andy Chalk. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is out. This says today, but it was out Tuesday. And in case you hadn't heard, it is excellent. We'll get to that later.
That's them hyping up their own review.
Oh, this is their review. Okay, yeah. They gave it a 92 out of 100. Okay, but we're going to skip that. Valhalla's launch seems to have gone relatively smoothly, too. Courtney Craven, they gave it a 92 out of 100.
It hit you for a second.
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
But 92? Okay. That must be the PlayStation 5 version or something, like the next gen version.
It would have to be.
It has to be. Anyways, Courtney Craven, the founder of gaming accessibility site Can I Play That, found one troubling issue with the game, however. A description of a character who was badly burned as a child and now lives in fear of people, seeing her disfigured face. And here's the text that they found in the game. Horribly burned in a childhood accident, Europhorine is terrified someone will see her disfigured face. She relieves her fury with bursts of violence. That's the quote from the game. And I fumbled that name. All the names in that game are hard to say.
Well, they're Nordic.
They're all Nordic and pre-Crusade English game names. It's all hard. I mispronounced the main character's name half the time. Anyways. This is okay. And then from a quote from Courtney Craven, founder of Can I Play That? Quote, I didn't include this in my Assassin's Creed Valhalla impression piece, but it's equally important to address. This is a character description in the game. It's absolutely unacceptable to talk about facial differences this way. Writers for games and otherwise need to do better. End quote. Unfortunately, although, not unexpectedly, the reaction to Craven's tweet was largely negative, leading them to protect their tweets. Ubisoft took a more understanding approach, however, from the Assassin's Creed Twitter. Quote, thank you so much for pointing this out. We apologize unintentionally for reinforcing ableism through this language. We will remove this language in an upcoming update. That's really all there is to say from this article. Connor, how do we feel about this?
I think this is incredibly stupid.
What part?
The entire...
Be clear.
The entire... Yes, yeah. I was going to get into that.
You're on the internet. Be clear.
This is stupid. Next.
Yeah.
But no, the reason why it's stupid to me is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter all that much.
Well, I know Craven goes into to say, hey, I was playing, my girlfriend was watching me play, she's a burn victim, and she, didn't take kindly to seeing this. So
the problem is
it does affect some people.
It can, yes, but does it involve everyone? Is everyone who is a burn victim is going to see this as an incredibly negative thing or something that they
Connor,
care about?
if we only cared about everyone, then millions would be left.
Exactly. So who is this really going to exactly be affecting? If it's just a small group of people, who really cares?
No, my point is the opposite of that, is that you should fight for the small group of people.
No, it's not a matter of the small
you
group
absolutely
of people.
should fight for the little guy.
It's not a matter of the small group of people that are burned, but rather about whether they actually are offended by something like this.
I see what you're saying.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I mean, obviously, if someone was close to her who was offended by it, is going to be offended by it. That's what's going to happen.
Speaking specifically for burn victims, which I am not and you are not.
No.
And as far as I know, neither of us know any serious burn victims. I'm sure it's traumatic and it might bring up some bad memories and it might affect your psyche in some way to think that, oh, this is what everybody thinks of me is because of my burn that I'm some violent or emotional mess, and people have to take, and that may not be true, or it probably isn't true. Where I stand on this is setting in time period and context, which is kind of lost here. Firstly, Assassin's Creed takes place in a fictional timeline.
Yeah, it has actual events, but specifically,
it's fiction.
When it gets into the smaller details,
even on the larger scale, they try to explain historical events through fiction.
Those parts are where it gets
fake gods, it's all fiction. So you didn't need to do this. You might have just been trying to add just some character to the world and stuff. And I struggle to believe anybody in this time period would have much sympathy for burn victims, and you would probably see cases of this in that time. Nobody is understanding at this point in history. No, they only care about themselves. They're selfish, and they're terrible to people who are different. So you would see things like this. The thing is, you have to frame it in a way. You have to frame that idea in a way as a creative that, hey, that mindset is bad.
Yeah,
you shouldn't do that. And that's not what they're doing with this quote here.
The issue is that I take with things like that is every single time you bring up someone being negatively reacted to due to something about their physical appearance or the way they believe in something, do you always have to say that this is just what, in the context of the game, people are looking down on that kind of thing? At the end of the day, with stuff like this, describing someone as horribly disfigured for being a burn victim, it's not doing so from an out of game perspective in a negative way. It's not at any point in time saying that if you have burns, you are horribly disgusting or a bad person, or you let yourself get angry.
Well, the point is this is the example that people like this are given in media. This is the representation that they see
in the game. Yes.
In the game. And in other mediums as well. This is nothing new. Granted, I don't think we talk about it nearly as much as, race or sexuality or any of that stuff. I don't know, man. I just think it's kind of fucked up to paint people in a negative light when, that it has nothing to do with their actual persons.
And then, the issue that always comes back to stuff like this is it's a video game. It's a simple description in a video game that you can easily gloss over.
It is the smallest detail. I probably won't see this in my playthrough.
Is it a mercenary of some kind, or is it the main character?
No, I think it's to my understanding, it's just like a text you read, or maybe it's it's a character description, so it might be an actual character.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like I said, I know the mercenary.
I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I don't know. I don't think it's a mercenary. I think it's like an actual character.
Oh, okay.
Like in the fiction, probably like an NPC or something, or maybe like an NPC you don't see. And you get like a codex entry in it. I'm afraid that I just don't know enough here, and the article doesn't give me any more information.
No, I mean that at the end of the day isn't really framed as being important. It's rather just the language that was being used, and people are saying it's a bad thing.
I mean, it's not a good thing.
It's not making any larger implications beyond what individual people are giving it. I don't think it really matters.
Well, my point is if it doesn't matter, then why defend it?
Why attack it either, though? That's the point. I know.
Well, if it affects somebody and its removal affects nobody, then remove it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just feel like that's kind of a waste of time. To remove something like that doesn't matter.
Probably takes 30 seconds. Delete some
in an update.
I took a video game design class in high school. You just open up the button. I have no idea how this works. But I imagine you open up the file, you find where that text is, and you delete it.
Yeah, it's probably pretty easy to do that. Just get an intern to do it.
I wouldn't do it to an intern. But, if I were to guess, it's already fixed. Probably, somebody went, hey, Fred, go delete that. You go, okay. And that's about it. And then it's like, okay, we'll push it in our next update where we get some bug fixes out the way. I don't know. I mean, good on Ubisoft for being more inclusive, I guess. But
sure. I mean, it's a description in a video game. Stop being a pussy.
you gotta.
I
dealing with the internet, Connor. You can't do that.
I know. You can't say certain things because that's rude.
I mean, I know you're joking. They don't.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
That's sad for them.
Yeah, but unfortunately, idiots have a voice, and there's too many idiots in the world. So
you're looking at an idiot with a voice, Tavin.
I am looking at it. Connor.
Now,
same to you. But Connor, if we really want to talk about something fucking stupid, let's jump into your second penny.
Yes.
Which the story kind of evolved as we went. So I'm going to give a general, broad idea of how we were perceiving the story on the ground level, and then I'm just going to give you the final update as to what happened. So, what was this? Friday? Was it Friday? I think it was Friday, right?
It was somewhere around that day, yeah. Right before the weekend.
Yeah, and then over the weekend, it was Friday. We were getting reports that there was a hostage situation at a Ubisoft Montreal dev studio. Didn't really know what was happening. We were waiting for more details. We weren't even sure if we were going to talk about this on this week's episode, if we were going to talk about it at all. But since then, we've gotten a bit of an update in that there really wasn't a hostage situation at all. It actually turns out that this was a swatting, which is when you call the police and say, hey, there's some serious shit going on over there, and nothing's happening. So you're putting people in danger because cops are coming in expecting a certain thing, and then when they get there, people are just confused.
Yeah.
And it could lead to some serious harm. So, this is an updated report from Game Informer's article by Blake Hester. And this is their update saying, Montreal police have issued a statement on today's incident at Ubisoft Montreal, confirming again that no threats were detected and no injuries reported. Police also confirmed that the 911 call was in regards to a fake hostage situation. An investigation is planned to begin soon. The full statement can be read below. This Friday afternoon, the Service de Police de la Ville de Montréal deployed a large number of resources to answer a call for a hostage situation in St. Laurent Boulevard office building. The perimeter was quickly secured by the SPVM. The perimeter was quickly secured, and the SPVM confirms that no threat has been detected and no injuries are reported. Evacuees are being directed to a place where investigators will take their statement. A team of CIUSS social workers is also on hand to support them as needed. An investigation will follow regarding the call behind this important police force deployment. So first off, fuck whoever made that call.
Yeah, I know. When I first saw this news story, I probably the same as you and many other people thought it was an actual hostage situation that was going on.
Yeah.
I even though it wasn't a hostage situation, I had flashbacks to an event that happened last year at an anime studio called Kyoto Animation, where a guy went into their office building and burned the place up, killing multiple people and destroying work. So I was afraid it was going to be a video game version of that situation. So even though it is shitty for the guy, whoever it was, to do this,
shit.
Yeah, at least
go fuck yourself.
At least it wasn't real. You know,
at least it wasn't real, and at least nothing happened.
No, nothing happened at all.
Because, you know, I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Someone makes, you know, the wrong instinctual move in front of a cop, and somebody gets shot or hurt or killed.
It was the first time that happened during a swatting a while ago. A guy actually got charged for it. I think it was in California where he got charged.
So they say they're doing an investigation on who made the call. Hopefully they find this fucker and consequences are dealt with.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You know, I just don't understand why you would do this.
Neither do I.
Like,
well, it's the meme.
Is it though? Yeah. Like you have to be like a hateful fucking person to do this.
They're not doing it to actually actively hurt someone. Even if it does end up hurting them in the long run, you know, as you sometimes had with that one swatter case. The belief by some people that this will not lead to anything negative, it will not actually hurt anybody, makes them think, well, you know, I'll just do it as a joke because I have nothing better to do.
You're saying these people who make these calls think that way.
Yeah, they think that way. Okay. So they're just like, screw it. What's the worst that can happen? And then
someone could die.
Yeah,
that's the worst that could happen.
They don't think that though. They don't understand that actions they take could have such, you know, broad-reaching circumstances.
Your consequences. So
consequences. Yeah, better word than circumstances.
Dude, like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Fuck this dude. Like, whoever did this. Like, piece of shit.
As we said, we kind of I was deciding whether I wanted to talk about this, but there's not much else to say.
There's not much else to say. Fuck that. But it's news.
Yeah, it's news.
And it happened to one of the biggest gaming companies in the world on launch week of their flagship franchise. So,
and this happened in Montreal. Those people may have had to wait on the roof in the cold. That must have sucked.
Right.
Yeah,
it's cold up there.
It's cold. I don't want to go down. Maybe in my office.
Oh man, Connor.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Those are our pennies. Ran through them real easy, in and out, and we're done. Mm-hmm. Now let's get to what's really the topic of our show and even our headlines. Let's talk about what we've been playing.
Yes.
What have you been playing?
I'll kick it off because I've been revisiting some old favorites of mine. So the first thing I did, much to Tavin's hatred.
Well, hold on.
No, he was angry at me.
I was not
angry at me for playing
Nope.
Bloodborne again. One of the best games to ever be made, especially on the PS4.
You're playing Bloodborne,
and
yes.
He hated it. He called me disgusting, actually.
Okay.
I had the exact words.
I'm not going to
in
take
the
this
text.
slander. This is slander.
Do I need to pull up the text? I
did say this. I did say this, but this is in response
disgusting.
because you shut your fucking mouth. Because you constantly berate me about replaying some of my favorite games and getting platinums and shit and revisiting older games and all this shit. You do it constantly.
In my defense, though,
I think you've even done it on this podcast.
The last time I played Bloodborne was 2017, maybe. I'm not going back to a 2009 game, Mass Effect, to relive a game that I played.
Mass Effect's one of the greatest games ever,
and Bloodborne's one of the greatest games ever.
Okay, so
I was playing that. It's amazing.
Sure,
Well,
I'm sure it is.
Like, well,
yeah.
Beyond
That's what everybody says.
Bloodborne itself, it's amazing. Yeah. So I was playing some of that. Yeah, and then I was, of course, berated for it. I was also moments ago, before the podcast started, berated once again by my abusive co-host.
This is not true.
Host.
These are all lies.
That I was playing also Dark Souls 2 because I
oh no, I did. No. You're a little gross for doing that. You're a little gross. But you're not even doing it for a point. You're just popping it in and playing. Which more power to you. You're allowed to play what you want. But your point is always like, what's the point? Like, you've already played it. Like, it's already done. It's old. Play something new.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm a hypocrite.
I'm
a hypocrite.
Yeah, you're like, Tavin, you have all these games on your backlog to play.
Right here.
Connor, you've got games in your backlog to play.
Talking to a hypocrite. Yep. But I played it because I know that the PS5 is going to be able to play that game at 60 FPS, and I had a moment where I was like...
Which game?
Dark Souls 2. So I had a moment...
Is it?
Yeah, I saw that. Unless I misread it as Dark Souls 3, but from what I saw, it was Dark Souls 2.
I would believe 3 over 2.
I would too, but
also...
I'm pretty confident I saw Dark Souls 2.
You sure it was about Dark Souls, not Bloodborne or Sekiro?
Dark Souls 2. No.
Interesting.
Yeah, Bloodborne's not. That actually, news came out saying it's only going to run at 30 FPS.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
But I decided to jump into that, but I decided, I'm going to abandon it now just because I'll play it probably when the PS5 comes out and I have, the
pop back
games
in,
on there.
Look at the goods and then pop out.
Now, the game that I have been continuing is Fire Emblem Three Houses. So I had there's 4 routes in the game that you can take. I did 2 of the routes, neither of which told the entire story of Fire Emblem Three Houses because there's kind of there's kind of 2 major plot threads in that game.
As someone who has played the 3 main routes of the game, no, that's not true. They don't tell. It's not that you need all of them collectively to understand the full story. Each route tells its own individual story.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying there's multiple. No, I said 2 plot threads, main plot threads.
Really, really all you get out of playing multiple threads is more backstory information from things that happened before the main character takes control of the story. But I'm sorry, continue.
Considering that, though, I never played the Golden Deer route, which discusses elements of the
best route in the game,
according to you. Yes, which it is good so far.
Yeah.
But I know that has some stuff in the game that I haven't seen during that route, so I'm trying to go through that and play it. I also got the DLC Cindered Shadows, which I never played when it came out earlier.
Solid piece of DLC.
Yeah, and I'll be jumping into that pretty soon. But I felt like it was finally time to go back to Three Houses and clean it all up. Because I kind of burnt myself out by playing the Blue Lions route, which took a couple, many, many hours. And then jumping right into the Black Eagles route and playing many hours of that one. And that one kind of disappointed me in some areas. So I was kind of turned off for it for a second.
It's definitely the lesser of the 3 main routes.
Yeah. Even though
But the reason that's the lesser is because that route splits into 2 different routes, which makes 4.
And for some reason, they thought you would choose the other way and not the one that most players seem to have chosen. I don't want to go into
You're going to have to be more specific. Red or white is what you mean. Which one's the big one?
the red one.
You think?
Oh,
I feel like the white one is more prevalent than the red.
It is in the game, but I feel like if I was choosing which one to prioritize, I would have done the red one.
Fair enough.
It just because it has a bigger main character and a more central focus in the form of Edelgard. In a way.
Maybe.
In a sense that she's right next alongside you.
Anyways.
I don't want to go into that too much.
I mean, the game's a year and a half old. Like,
yeah, but I don't even know everything about it. That's why I'm playing it again. So, I've been playing that again, and really just trying to clean things up. I also need to clean up Ghost of Tsushima before our big, best games of the year, which will be coming eventually. So,
you don't think you've played enough to rate it accurately in your list?
I think I do, but I still want to beat the game, because
Okay.
I feel kind of partly incomplete if I don't say that I haven't played
I
it all
also
the way.
want to beat it, but I don't know if I'll be able to.
I think I can just blow through it at this point. Just forget about a lot of the side exploring parts.
I'll do it eventually. I'll get the platinum and everything eventually.
Yeah,
But it's just a matter of time with that one.
Yeah, you take your time with your platinums, so
I do, but it's also because I've become distracted by 2 other pretty large games.
Mm-hmm, yes.
So what I've been, you're good on what you've been playing?
Yeah,
All
that's what I've been playing.
So I've been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Spider-Man Miles Morales, both of which came out this last week. Connor, where would you like to start?
Let's go through Valhalla first.
Valhalla first? Okay. That's probably good because I comparatively I've played less. I've beaten Miles Morales. I've arguably only scratched the surface of Valhalla. Mm-hmm. So I'm just over 10 hours in Valhalla.
Which, considering the new Assassin's Creed game, thinking about Odyssey isn't that much, considering how much content there is.
Oh god, no.
Yeah.
Like, the story is only just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a longtime Assassin's Creed fan. I've played most of the major releases, with the exception of, I didn't really play, I played Unity for about 2 hours. I didn't play Assassin's Creed, I believe it was called Rogue, which was the which was the 360 PS3 version, when, this current console generation launched. And then I never finished Syndicate. Every other one I've played and beaten, I believe, of the main entries in the games. That's not true. I didn't beat Origins. But I loved Origins.
Yeah. Now, would you consider Odyssey to be the best one?
Yes.
You seem to be leading into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
From my experience.
Odyssey is, I think, far and away the best title leading into Valhalla. And I felt like it was a super high bar to reach again. And I do feel like they've met that bar, but only just barely with Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
I like Valhalla. I'm enjoying Valhalla. I'm going to continue playing Valhalla. Take a shot every time I say Valhalla.
Mm-hmm. Easy way to say it.
However, I've got some criticisms and some concerns about it, and some decisions that basically just come down to personal taste, and I feel, one way or another about it. One thing that I think is super interesting about Assassin's Creed, especially in this new era of it, that started with Origins, is the inspirations they've started taking from other games. Specifically, which is coincidental that you even brought it up this week, the Dark Souls influence on Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in difficulty or even in general game level design, but in control and in button layout and all that. It's clear that they were like, hey, that is how you should play third-person melee-based games. Your attacks shouldn't be on the face buttons; they should be on the bumpers and the triggers. Take no fucking Ghost of Tsushima, because then you have control of your camera at all times, and you can still fight and defend yourself accordingly. So that happened in Origins, and then Odyssey expanded on it, but Odyssey kind of, made itself more unique and took its own direction with it. With Valhalla, which is the same team that made Origins, they've taken even more inspiration from Dark Souls with the integration of a stamina bar. Which basically feeds into everything you do in combat. If you swing your weapon, it takes some stamina. You do a heavy strike, it takes a great amount of stamina. If you dodge, it takes a stamina. If you do a dodge roll, it takes most of your stamina away.
Now, is it slower in terms of combat than Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Because it seems like Odyssey would be very difficult to play if that system was in place with so many enemies.
I don't think so. No, because they've counterbalanced this stamina system with every time you land a light attack, you get stamina back.
Okay.
So, but it does feel more. So far, it feels more button mashy than Odyssey felt. Odyssey, I felt like you had some strategy in it. You could be, okay, I'm going to use this ability on these guys, and then that'll take care of them, and then I'm going to focus on this big heavy dude, and I'm going to put all this damage on him with this ability, and then I'm going to dip away and dodge him for a little while and take care of these little ats and stuff, and it would be kind of like that. In this one, so far, it just kind of feels like, hey, I'm going to just put damage on whatever I can, and then that's going to be it. And I think that leads into one of my complaints about this game is that the upgrade tree in it, I feel was poorly planned.
I have a side question to ask.
Go ahead.
The skill tree.
Yeah.
What's the design of that skill tree?
So, and this is what I'm getting into. It is. I think it's based off of some Norse mythology stuff.
Is it a tree? Actual tree?
No, it's stars.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, hey, I'm gonna go to my skills, and it pans up and it shows you some stars.
Yeah,
but
Skyrim
it's
stuff.
got this fog of war effect on it, like you would on a map, on an open world map, where you can't see where your upgrades are going. So you can't plan accordingly which abilities that you want to gain.
That's a weird way to do it.
Because you just can't see it until you start unlocking certain stars and certain constellations, and then they clear up and you see them. It's very annoying, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, in Odyssey, there was an ability you could get where if you jumped off a cliff, you would survive the fall.
Yeah.
No matter what. You wouldn't even say fall damage. It would just negate fall damage. I would like that ability in Valhalla too. The problem is, I don't know if that ability exists. I do know there's an ability that reduces fall damage. So if I follow that line of where that is in the map of upgrades, will I eventually get an upgrade that says, hey, fall damage is negated? Don't know. Couldn't tell you. They do try and help you by splitting all the upgrades into 3 main paths, which are red, blue, and yellow, which are basically melee damage, stealth, and ranged, respectively. So if you follow the blue line, you unlock more stealth abilities. If you follow the red line, it's more combat-focused, melee damage, getting buffs and putting out high amounts of damage. If you follow yellow, it's more about using your bows and arrows and et cetera, et cetera. So that's appreciated, but it's just not enough for me to plan my upgrades accordingly. So I don't know if I'm wasting time. I don't know if I'm building the character I want to build. And I feel like I'm not going to be able to accurately do that until I'm 40, 50 hours in and more of the map has been unlocked. And it's super frustrating because as of right now, with how I generally know my playstyle to be, I'm dumping a lot of points into the stealth category, but should I be dumping points into the melee category? I feel like I probably should be, so I'm instinctually, just because I don't want to fuck myself later, putting a few points into that tree as well. And it's just, this would be so much better if I could just see the path ahead of me. If I could just see it. This is something every open world does, is they say, hey, here are your abilities, here's what those abilities lead to. Okay, great, I'm going to follow this tree until I get to this point, and then I don't care about the rest of that tree, so I'm not going to follow it anymore, and then I'm going to jump into this tree and do this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can't do that here, because I don't know what upgrades are to come. It's very frustrating for me.
That seems like a very inefficient system for a game that is going to be this long.
Yeah, and a game that's 80 hours long,
yeah.
You kind of need that.
Yeah.
Especially in these beginning hours where everything feels so button mashy, and I don't feel any real strategy in taking out my enemies.
I've never heard of this system being done before like this. I can't think of anything like that.
I can't think of it either.
Yeah. I wonder why. Probably because it's just not as good.
It's probably not just a really good idea.
If a system is not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. Another issue I have is the escalation and leveling in enemies in the open world. This game feels punishing to explore, which sounds insane in an Assassin's Creed title. that it's punishing me for exploring. So the main idea is, usually the beginning of hours of every open world game, you're kind of on rails, and it's kind of like, hey, follow these narrative beats until we get to the point where it's like, okay, go explore.
Yeah.
I did that, normal, and then there's the obvious point where it's like, okay, now you can go explore and do whatever you want. I go, great.
Odyssey was very clear on that part. When you got your ship and got your island.
In Valhalla, I hit that point, that narrative beat where it goes, okay, now you can go explore, and you can go get resources and build your character up and all this. And I said, okay, great. They have a, sort of like a community village system in this game where you're building up your clan's, new village. Mm-hmm. You're bringing in resources and, upgrading things so that, I can get an armorer so that I can have a blacksmith. I can get a bakery so that I can bring food in, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A fishing spot, all these little, things to build up, and all those bleed into all the other systems. So I see that system and I go, oh, I want to do that. Because that's something I like to do. I like to build up my resources, and I like to upgrade that way, so then I get kind of, a little overpowered early on. So the way to bring in resources is by going out on raids. You go to nearing enemy encampments or villages or whatever, and you go raid it with your other Viking people, which I saw some people complaining that, this game was supposed to, take away some of the stigmatisms about Vikings raiding and pillaging, but then all you do in this game is raid and pillage.
Well, that was a subsection of Viking culture, was that they raided people. Yeah, mostly they were merchants, but...
They did raid people, but it was in the marketing of, they did more than just raid people.
Yeah.
And so far, I've mostly just been raiding people.
Yeah.
But here's my problem. So I get on my little long ship, I go down the river, I find the first enemy encampment I can, and I press the button to raid, I jump off my ship, I look at the first enemy who comes my way. He is a level 190. I am 20 at most.
Yeah.
They one-shot me every time. And I'm just dead. There's nothing I can do. Why in the beginning levels of your game, your beginning areas of your game, where you're still teaching me all of these different mechanics and their purposes, do you have this high-level area that just fucking kicks the shit out of me?
That's a very stark difference from Odyssey, where you can go anywhere and they leveled with you.
And people complained about that too.
That was a perfect system, though.
I love that system because it's never too easy, but it's never too hard.
Yeah.
And even if it is too hard, going in that it's too hard. I went into this raid, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. There was nothing to tell me of what level I should be until I was there. Mm-hmm. And then they kicked my ass, and then the game was like, you gotta be level 190. And I said, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, they're that high. You gotta be that high to fight them.
Now, to be fair, you level up pretty quickly. I'm already I'm in the 30s, 40s, somewhere around there already.
Yeah.
But I imagine that it's gonna slow down. I imagine.
Maybe,
but still, 10 hours in, you're gonna tell me I have to put in another 40 to go raid that hour? To go raid that starting village? Mm-hmm. What? Man, it better be worth it.
Will it?
I have no idea. So that's, and then then as I unlock more of the map and I clear more of the map, I learn the areas that I should avoid, and I learn the language of the game of hey, this is a level 160. This is a level 100. This is a 40. You can probably go take that. And I go, oh, okay, great, I can go do that. But there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to which areas are what.
It's kind of randomly selected almost.
It feels randomly selected.
Like when they were developing the game, they said, okay, put the level 90 enemies in that village and the level 30s in that one, blah, blah, blah.
It's what it feels like. So it immediately discourages me from exploring. So instead, I'm just kind of mainlining the main quest right now. Because all of the side quests I'm picking up are in high-level areas that I can't fucking do shit in. So, I'm just running from main mission to main mission with main mission, which is fine, but it's not the way I like to play Assassin's Creed, and it's not even the way I like to play open world games. For example, Ghost of Tsushima, I'm clearing out the entire map before I continue the story.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do that here in Valhalla, but it's not letting me. Which, I'll say, leads me to something I think is really positive about this game, and that is the story. Mm-hmm. I like these characters. I like where we're going. I like some of the early foreshadowing seeds that they're planting already. I like all of this. The voice acting could be a little better. Some of the dialogue is a little bland. But for the most part, it's an engaging story. Which was the best part about Origins as well. Is the story was really, really good. I never saw it to the end, but the story was really, because that game was huge, and I wasn't prepared for something that big at the time. And I would say these 3 games comparatively, both Origins and Valhalla, so far have a better story than Odyssey. Which Odyssey's story was fine, but it gets to a point where it's like, okay, nothing here really matters. And then you start forgetting character names and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so far, I know every character. I know who they are. I know their purpose. I know why they're here. It's been great. I'm meeting side characters. Some of these side characters are super interesting. There's a subplot where you have to root out. There's a rat in the group. There's a traitor in the group, and you have to root them out and get them out of here. And that was fun and an engaging plot line. Asking all these characters different questions, exploring the world to find different clues. It was all really well done. And I'm hoping for more things like that. And I'll say there are moments, even though it does feel button mashy, there are moments where the combat is really shining and I'm really, really enjoying it. Usually it's against some of the more tankier enemies, in which the parry system is much more necessary to succeed. The parry window is huge. There are times where I'm like, that should have just been a normal block. But okay, I guess it was a parry. And then enemies will also parry you, which is interesting because most games don't do that.
Yeah, most of them, sometimes they didn't even block in Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, so far my experience with them parrying me has been a bit of a mixed bag. Not in a way of it negatively affects my gameplay experience, but I just don't understand how it works all the way. And maybe that's because the system doesn't work all the way. Because sometimes they'll parry me and immediately attack me. Or sometimes they'll parry me and they'll just hold that block. And when they hold that block, it just gives me an opportunity to use a heavy attack and break the block. And then if you break their block, they're fucked. You're pretty much just instantly wiping them out. Guys with shields, especially rinky-dinky, shitty wooden shields, because you're a Viking and most of your weapons are axes, you use a heavy attack and you just shatter their shield.
Yeah.
And they're on the ground stunned and you just do massive amounts of damage to them and kill them almost immediately. So enemies who I feel are supposed to be tougher than just your normal sword wielders actually turn out to be easier. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but, I enjoy it every time it happens.
Yeah.
So I'm having fun.
Now, one question I have about the story is is it like Odyssey where they still have that stupid modern day plot line and they just kind of gloss over that?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there. It was interesting because I found characters. I couldn't tell you what's happening in this new modern day storyline because I checked out after Desmond died. Yeah. Spoilers for a 2012 game. There's characters in this modern day time that were in those older games. So I'm like, you're still here. That's interesting.
And what role do you?
I was like, are you still the tech girl? Because you used to be the tech girl. Are you still the tech? No, you seem to still be the tech girl. All right, whatever. But it's immediately all right. You can either look around and talk to people and find the world, discover the world in the modern times, or you can just hop into the Animus. And I'm like, fuck this, man. I'm hopping right back.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Because I just don't care anymore. I honestly, as someone who was a defender of the modern storyline in the early games, I really wish they would cut it.
They need to now.
Just
they really just
stop.
Need to. No one cares about it.
Stop. Nobody cares. I'm sure there are people who care about the overall lore of the franchise and the Ancient Ones and the gods and the Assassin Templar war still. But I feel like most of us don't.
Yeah.
Because most players didn't care about it back then.
Yeah.
And you lost a lot of us after Assassin's Creed 3. Which was actually Assassin's Creed 7, and now we are on Assassin's Creed, 15 plus?
Final Fantasy took way longer to make all their games than Assassin's Creed has. But would they be able to
we were doing yearly games for 6 years.
Would they be able to still continue all this other lore stuff outside while removing the real time stuff?
I think so.
Yeah, it seemed like they could.
I think so.
I
think we're still owed a modern day game from Assassin's Creed. I think that would be interesting. What does that look like?
It would be interesting.
You know?
Yeah. Maybe like the last Assassin's Creed game is going to be in modern times.
Who knows, man? But it would be cool.
It would be cool if they could do it right.
Right? I don't know what that game looks like.
No.
And I don't know how you differentiate it from Watch Dogs. I guess just being able to climb shit.
People have less guns, maybe? More guns? Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe like you include like some type of morality system in which killing people is bad, so you use non-lethal weapons.
Are you talking about Dishonored?
No, I'm talking about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I
see what you're saying.
Discussing
Okay.
stuff like that kind of makes me think maybe it'll be just too similar to other games that we've seen.
Anyways,
But, yeah.
So back to Valhalla. I am enjoying it. I do plan on putting more hours in. But as of right now, also it's worth saying in Odyssey and I think even in Origins, there was an abundance of loot, like items, weapons,
Yes,
armors, and you would like dismantle them for resources and all this. They've nixed that system almost entirely.
so there's not even like resource heavy stuff anymore.
No, there is.
Oh,
But now they designed it in a way to where every weapon and every armor piece matters.
I kind of like that more because an issue I had with the Odyssey was that I would get new armor pieces, and I'm a big fan of designing characters based on armor that you pick up in the game, not just the stats that come with them. And I was looking forward to doing that, but I quickly found out that like that headpiece looks the same as that other one with like a different color on it.
Yeah, it's just a different color.
And it's just recolored stuff. So
Well, eventually in Odyssey they just added the thing to where you could just pick whatever design you wanted.
exactly.
wanted it to look like.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Well, now you can look however you want.
Yeah, but it is Valhalla. So Valhalla has more unique.
Valhalla
in terms
has
of design.
this is the axe.
Yeah.
This is another axe, but it does different stuff.
Yeah,
You
you have the dual axes.
can have dual axes. You can do an axe and a shield. You can do. I know there's two-handed weapons. So far, I've only found axes. I found two different types of one-handed axes and a two-handed axe.
That was their weapon.
Those are the weapons I have.
Wait for those Norse swords though.
I want a sword.
Yeah.
Give me a sword. I like swords so much more than axes. But and then I've seen spears and stuff being used online and etc.
Oh, okay.
I'm already feeling every time I get a new armor piece or I get a new weapon though, I've already and then I'm a little scattered here. I'm already feeling this preference to gear I already have though. Not because it just seems like the best piece of gear or whatever, but because the upgrade system were the resources that you were talking about, you dump those into your weapons to make them better. So your first weapon in the game, you just keep leveling it up and leveling it up. And there's even a system to upgrade its rarity so you can get even better upgrades on it. So why would I be incentivized to try out new weapons when I've spent the last 12 hours dumping them all into the axe I already have?
You think they could have cleared that up by making it to where weapons are more available from the outset of the game, so you have right away more choices of which type of weapon you want
I
to
preferred
use.
the Odyssey system, where it's like, hey, yeah, you have this new piece of armor, but in a few more hours, you're going to get a new one, and it'll be better. I just prefer that. And sure, you can upgrade it if you want, and make it better and make it last longer, but there's really no point because you can do that to higher level things anyway. So just constantly cycle me out through those things. That's just what I fucking prefer. Because right now it's like, why would I devote the time and the resources to getting all these new items up to where I am now with these old items when I could just continue upgrading these old items and making them better? So when I do eventually get a sword, will I even want it? Because it'll probably cut my damage in half when I get it. So, I don't know. It's weird. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. It doesn't feel like, there are things in this game that feel like steps backwards. The upgrade tree, the leveling in the environment, even, there's still dialogue options, but there's less of them. So that feels like a step backwards. And they don't seem to matter as much, even though they didn't really matter that much in Odyssey anyway. Those all feel like step backwards. This feels like a lateral movement. And I feel like the stamina system feels like a lateral movement as well, where it's just a system implemented to differentiate itself from the other games.
Yeah.
And it doesn't improve or detract from this game in any way or form. So overall, I would say this is a net positive experience with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But I did enjoy Odyssey more, and in some ways I even enjoyed Origins more. I will say, in ways that this game trumps the other two, is its environment and in its level of detail. This game is really pretty.
Oh, it is.
The way the light shines through the trees, there's a lot of river bends instead of like oceans like there were in Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Which is super interesting, and I really, really dig that vibe of like everything kind of connected through these rivers.
Yeah.
And then just the way that the water moves and the way that the sun bounces off the rivers, it's really pretty. However, this is very obviously a next-gen game pared down to work on this system.
Yeah. Because
there are lots of pop-in, lots of texture pop-in, lots of character pop-in, lots of item pop-in. Like, things are popping in left and right. It's glitchy as shit. First 45 seconds of the game in the intro, audio got desynced.
Yeah, you told me about
the audio
that
was coming, I think like a full second or two before the action happened on screen.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I was like, what the shit? I had to restart my game and fix it. And it totally took all the weight out of the inciting moment in the beginning of the game, or the inciting incident in the beginning of the game. So I was like, man, that kind of sucks that I didn't get like the full emotional impact of that moment. But what are you going to do? Video games.
Yeah. Inferior copy.
Yeah, you know. And I do wish that this was just I do wish I just had like a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X so that I could just jump into that and do it right. But Connor, that's about all I have to say about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. How are you looking? You think you might check this one out, or
not at all?
Really?
No, yeah. Okay. You see, I like the biggest reason I would get into this game is because of the Norse setting. Because I'm a fan of Vikings. I really jumped into Odyssey because I'm a big fan of ancient Greek culture and mythology. And you know I expect that this game is going to be very large. It's going to be a lot of running around, doing side quests if you feel like doing them, exploring, stuff like that. And I kind of got my fill of that kind of stuff in Odyssey. And even though I know that there's different systems in Valhalla in comparison, I don't think there's a reason for me to want to jump into another game like that.
We've also got more games like this coming on the horizon. Cyberpunk 2077 is coming. Immortals Phoenix Rising looks like a blend between Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is currently still my favorite Assassin's Creed game, and Breath of the Wild.
Now, when you were talking about this game, I was thinking, I'm not going to get this game, but I'm excited for Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix. Yeah, and I want to play Phoenix as well. And I already, just from what I've seen, I feel like I'm going to like Phoenix more than I like this game.
It's more unique in terms of what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I don't think I'll give Valhalla a chance.
I will say,
honest.
In terms of I don't know if this is a spoiler. It doesn't feel like a spoiler. The game starts in Norway. But you very quickly go to England. And they've separated the map into two major sections of like, you go like, you know that thing where like you just keep going out and out, and then like eventually like it's just like go to this major section, or go to this major. They've got that where it's like it's just this big tab that says Norway map or England map, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, are we going to other countries too? Are we going to go to like to Egypt or something? Like, are we going to do something cool?
They did explore a lot.
So instead of Odyssey, where it's just this big, huge map, it's more like a Witcher 3, where it's like, here's this medium-sized map. Here's a smaller map. Here's a really fucking big map. Here's another medium map. And I feel like it's going to be somewhere around there.
It's funny you say that, because I think there were reports back in the day of Vikings actually making it to Egypt and going down there and raiding a little bit.
There were, so we might go to Egypt.
Yeah.
Well, we might go to Egypt.
That would be play cool. More.
That would be. I will have to play more. I'll report back.
Yeah, please do.
Maybe. Later. Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, really? Who knows if you'll get to it?
I probably will. I plan on putting a lot of time into this game. But Connor, the other game I've been playing this week that I'm going to go ahead and say this is our full, comprehensive 2 Penny Gamescast review.
Well, one-sided review.
Yeah, but nobody cares about your opinions, so.
If no one cares about my opinions, for anybody that's watching, he told me earlier.
Oh boy, here we go.
If I have a thing where I need to go to the restroom sometimes, and we usually pause this.
You piece of shit.
And what I said is like, hey, you're going to have to pause it if I go to the restroom. And
I told you this train's going to keep moving, Connor.
You did, and you said you're going to have to talk to yourself.
We're at an hour 10, Connor.
There you go. So either for you guys watching, he's either
You're about
going
to test me,
pause
aren't
it.
you?
He's either going to pause it, and all of a sudden I'm going to come back with an empty bladder, or he's going to be talking to himself while I am no longer in the room. So let's see the actions of Tavin.
So Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yep. He paused it.
Okay, well, you had a call from your mom, so I would have had to pause it anyway. So
Yeah, there you go. So you paused it.
Spider-Man Miles Morales is a pretty damn good game. It's a pretty damn good game.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously built off the back of what Spider-Man 2018 was. And I would even describe it more as one of the best DLC expansions I've ever played than its own full standalone title.
It seems that it's a remastered game of an already good-looking game. It looks better.
Oh, it looks better than 2018. I will say, like Assassin's Creed, this is obviously built for the PlayStation 5.
I mean, it was a big showcase for it.
Yeah, and me playing on the PS4 did not do me any favors.
Yeah, you dug your grave in that
I had quite a few glitches in this as well. Nothing as severe as audio desync, but like there were like pop-ins. There was a moment where Miles' head and naked shoulders came into view, but nothing else.
Naked.
And then it just stopped at his neckline, of course, because that's where the model stops.
Yeah.
And then his clothes came in, and the rest of his model appeared. So that was a little disorienting. And then I had some issues in the final boss, in which there was a clear part where it's like, okay, something is supposed to be happening here, and it's not happening, and I'm just stuck in the same loop of combat that, like, something is not progressing.
They really didn't give two shits about how this is going to look on PS4. Like, if you're gonna...
No, I'm sure they did. It's just, I don't know if... it was clearly built for the PS5 first.
Well, this seems to be a case with both Valhalla and Miles Morales. It really just seems they didn't try. It makes sense they didn't.
These are toys for for
better consoles.
For better consoles.
Yeah.
I just don't have the better console. So, but I will say, though it is a lot like Spider-Man 2018, and they don't change anything too dramatically, they do make some subtle changes that I actually really, really, really fucking love. The main one being to differentiate Miles from Peter. Miles as Spider-Man has different powers than Peter. This is in the comics too.
Yeah.
Miles has something called a Venom Strike, and he has camouflage or invisibility, basically. And they implement these powers into Miles perfectly, I think.
Now the Venom Strike is, and I'm aware of the invisibility.
The Venom Strike is Miles has innate bioelectricity.
That's what it was. Yeah, I knew he had electricity. I was thinking like I may have misheard something.
So he charges his fist up and he hits you with a bunch of electricity real quick. And then there's different abilities you can do with it that are key to different button presses.
By the way, that is what a spider does. It hits things with electricity.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, never heard of that.
I think it's based off of like the idea that like some spiders can carry a charge.
Okay.
It's probably something stupid like that. I don't know.
It's
Comic books.
Yeah. Right.
Comic books. Anyways, what they've done here to implement these punches though is I think subtly really creative and really cool. So, for context, to anybody who didn't play the first game, and to remind you, because you may or may not remember, Spider-Man 2018 went off of a power bar system, in which the more damage you did and the more hits you dodged, you built up this meter.
Yeah.
And eventually, with that meter, you could do a finisher and take out a guy real quick, and it would do like this cool animation or whatever. Or at any point while building that bar, you could press a button and heal yourself.
You had to choose.
You had to choose between the two, and that was kind of like a risk-reward system that they had. But in my opinion, it wasn't the most effective risk-reward system, because when shit hits the fan, you're going to heal yourself every time instead of do the cool animated finisher.
I only did that for fun sometimes when I had the bar, and I was like, I might...
Well, you could also get upgrades to where you could chain finishers together, and if you had a full power bar, you could, of like 3 of what was initially only 3 finishers, you could make that into like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
The way that they've changed it in this game is instead of healing or doing a finisher, you can heal or do a Venom Strike.
Oh, okay.
And the way this works is certain enemy types only become vulnerable after a Venom Strike, and only for a short amount of time. So now you have the risk reward of, okay, do I use this ability so that I can put some damage on this heavy dude and solve the real problem here? Or do I heal myself and try and buy myself some time? But healing yourself also extends the period of which these guys who are doing a lot of damage to you will continue to do this damage to you. So it's kind of that risk reward of like, okay, I have to really be on my shit to do this. Now, Connor, you might be wondering, do we still have the cool animated finishers? Well, of course we do.
Good.
But now it's based off of getting a certain combo number, which is 15. You have to get your combo up to 15, and then you can do a finisher.
It's a fighting game.
Yeah, it's cool. So now it's now the risk reward system is more based off of surviving the encounter, which I think is a better move than just doing something for style. But the style is still in there if you're good enough to do it.
Okay.
I love all that.
Yeah, sounds good.
I will also say that is such a great change that I don't know how I'm going to go from Miles back to Peter when we inevitably get a Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Well, in a Spider-Man 2, I think you and me talked about this once before. Do you think they're going to make it to where you could switch between the two, or there's going to be certain story points where you?
It'll be I think it'll be narrative beats.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be like a play whoever you want to at any point. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be narrative beats, which is cool, and I like that. But you have to make those systems synonymous with each other.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to what they're going to give. I assume they're not going to go backwards, because that would be weird. So I assume they're going to give something to Peter to mirror that system from Miles.
Maybe the old character design, possibly.
What?
Is it, they could put that back in there. That's the change they could do.
Do you not like the white spider?
His face?
What are you talking? Oh, God.
Peter.
No, they're definitely not moving back to that.
Sad.
What? That was out of nowhere.
It was out of nowhere.
That was a reach and a stretch, and you were...
That one fell flat.
You missed the ballpark and landed in another state, bro.
I thought you would get what I was saying quicker, but anyway...
Anyways, I'll also say the moment-to-moment combat is faster than it was in 2018. Miles is faster. It feels like his punches don't hit as hard, but that might just be me. And it feels like the counter window is smaller. Mm-hmm. For reference, I did play on the hardest difficulty, which I did back in 2018 as well. Mm-hmm. And one of my complaints in 2018 is, this game could be a little tougher. Could be a little tougher.
It was a very easy game.
It was a pretty easy game. This one, it's pretty, it can get tough. It can get tough, this one.
Okay.
I would say this is close to the best, balance, but it's not perfect yet. Mm-hmm. I think in the moment to moment, it's perfect, but there were moments in which the game tries to amp up the difficulty and it goes too far.
Now, I know you kind of hinted at this a little bit through your review of this game. Do you think these changes are going to be exemplified in both Peter and Miles in the next game?
Yes.
Or it really is more just, this is Miles' gameplay in terms of those smaller things you saw?
No, I just said I imagine they're gonna add something to Peter.
Yeah, okay. They're
gonna give Peter something instead, because those two need to be synonymous.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play as both, moment to moment, because, especially if you're swinging around the open world, and they're not going to designate Miles to only certain missions. I imagine they're going to have moments where it's like, okay, this is Miles as part of the story, so he's going to be in the open world, and now it's Peter's part of the story, and he's going to be in the open world. So in that moment-to-moment in the open world gameplay, they need to be the same. Mm-hmm. Well, not the same, but similar enough to the point. So they've made all of those changes, and I appreciate most of them, and arguably the combat is better in this game than it was in 2018. They've also, for Miles, they've narrowed the amount of gadgets. Peter had 8 in the first game. This one, Miles only has 4. Smaller game, but I also think it helps to the balance because Miles' Venom Strikes basically add another 4 gadgets anyway. Mm-hmm. Also, in the last game, Peter had too many gadgets. Mm-hmm. Like there was some where I was like, "There's no fuck. Why do I need the gadget that enemies float in the air now? Like I don't need that. That doesn't do anything for me.
That at all.
I never used it. I need more web-based gadgets for
The
Peter.
one where you get all of them on the wall, the big giant web.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
was
Those are great. Those are great.
Yeah.
Those are great. So with all that considered, I think the combat is probably at its best. Its story, however, very clearly has had different writers on it. Because some of the dialogue is pretty generic, pretty corny, and kind of only works in the sense of moving the plot along. And because of that, I think the acting takes a hit as well.
Because they can't read their lines if the lines they're having aren't doing anything good within the context.
No,
of the game.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but I wouldn't call it bad by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
There's just
no.
moments where it's like, oh, this moment is supposed to hit me emotionally a lot harder than it is right now.
Oh, so even moments like that where it's supposed to be emotional, it doesn't.
Yeah, and also because it's a smaller game and I imagine a shorter budget and they had to... some moments feel rushed.
I'm assuming that a smaller game like this would be the main
there's a lot of
reason for
moments,
like
there's like a Miles coming into his own moment that I'm like, this isn't hitting quite the way y'all want it to. And I also think some of the motivations to lead into the final act are a bit rushed. Specifically with the main antagonist of the game.
Who is it?
It's the Tinker. We knew this.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Don't even know who the Tinker is.
The Tinker is, in the comics, just some, like, nerdy, like, loser guy who, like, just makes a bunch of cool gadgets for the bad guys. In this one, they've made some changes to that character, and it's awesome.
Okay.
This is a great iteration, not only of the character, but, like, it's just a great character regardless. But to get the Tinkerer to have certain motivations by the end of the game, we needed one or two more beats. They still work for what they are, but we needed just a little bit more time. Just a little bit more time. And then they also make some choices at the end that I feel like shortchange what these characters could be. I'm not going to get into that for spoiler reasons, of course, but I feel like we've lost some opportunities with some of the choices they take.
And they're not going to be able to
they
make
can't
those
go
up.
back. They can't go back.
Yeah.
They can't go back. But overall, I did enjoy the story quite a bit. I enjoyed this Miles coming into his own and becoming Spider-Man thing. He is now, in my mind, in this universe, on par with Peter Parker.
Good. That's what it needed to do.
I shouldn't say on par, because narratively, like, Peter's been at it for 8 years, Miles has been at it for a few months.
Oh, on par in terms of what they can do.
Yeah.
As Spider-Man.
Well, they are both Spider-Man.
But
it's not like Spider-Man and his little sidekick.
In terms of characters, though, are they on the same level, or is Peter Parker a lot better than Miles Morales? Or substantially
in terms of
enough?
complexity, I would say Peter is still a more interesting character to me, but that might be cheating because
full game versus
full 20-hour game versus an 8-hour one. So, and even then, I still wouldn't say this game is too short. Sure, it needs some more narrative beats, but by the time it was time to wrap up, I was like, yeah, this is a good place to wrap up.
Don't extend too far past.
I even told you, I woke up at like 10 a.m., started played until I had to go to work, and then right before I went to work, I was like, I feel like we're ramping up to the third act, and this feels right. So then by the time I came home, I had 2 hours left, and I was like, all right, let me knock this out.
And now you're going to platinum it.
I am going to platinum it. More of the same stuff of like, I mean, it's the same map, but they've done a few things to liven it up a little. It's Christmas time now, Connor. So there's snow all over New York. And that's fun.
That's a good change. For
and then
like
they have a bunch of more side activities you can do in the city. Some are just some are literally the same from Spider-Man 2018, which I found super disappointing.
I mean, you kind of have to.
Some of them are the more like things that made Spider-Man 2018 unique. So like in Spider-Man, you had the backpacks that would be like little memorabilia. We have something like that for Miles, which is appreciated.
It doesn't feel copy and paste.
It doesn't feel copy and paste, even though it is copy and paste. It doesn't feel like it. Whereas there are other side activities that are straight up copy and paste.
They're very artificial, unlike those.
It's like literally like you just changed the enemy types. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever, fine. And then there are some side activities that are uniquely Miles's and only work for Miles's character, which are enjoyable as well, but just weren't my favorites.
Yeah, right.
But they were solid, and they helped enhance character motivations. And I've already read online that if I follow through with some of those activities, they lead to some great payoffs.
Oh, okay. Good.
Totally forgot to mention this. The in terms of changes to gameplay, the upgrade tree has been almost completely reworked.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less the same where it's like, okay, level up, get a point, upgrade a point, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The design is completely different. In the first game, it was the generic, just 4 trees, and you just, one leads straight to the other. And this one, it's more of it's more web-like. And I feel like they're gonna go, even further with it being more like a web, which we've seen in other Spider-Man video games. I believe it was, Web of Shadows had a full, web, or it might have been Spider-Man 3.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since I played those games. But anyways, this one it's hey, yeah, here's some trees, but they branch out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit. And it's okay, you could get this one first or this one first. And they all kind of lead at the same spot, so it's still pretty linear, but you have a little more options now, which is appreciated. But they also, and this is key, there are side objectives in the world, which are kind of hologram training exercises for Miles to be put through that were orchestrated by Peter narratively, because we had to get Peter out of the game, but he still has to be there to teach Miles. So Peter is out of the game for narrative reasons, but he's left all of these virtual reality training things that Miles can partake in. And there are certain abilities that are locked to you as a player completing these side objectives. And none of them are so intrusive to where I feel like I'm missing something if I don't have them. But they are nice to have, and they motivate me to go do those it's the perfect balance of these abilities aren't necessary to play the game, but they do make it a lot more fun. Mm-hmm. It's like with Batman Arkham City, where sure, you're flying around, you're gliding or whatever, but if you do the VR challenges in Arkham City, you get the super grapple gun, which boosts you up over the grapple point that you wanted and sends you flying, and it's super awesome. But it's optional, and you don't need it to play. That's all I have to say about Miles in terms of gameplay and story. I think, trying to remember if there was something else. I think that's about it in terms of it. Really enjoyed it. Feel like I got my money's worth for it.
How much you paid for it again? $50?
It was $50.
Yeah.
So, a little pricey, I guess, arguably. If it had come out a year ago, it would have been $40. Mm-hmm. But with a $10 hike that we're getting next generation, 50 is the new 40 and 70 is the new 60. Mm-hmm. And I do plan on, when I do get a PS5 and I get the PlayStation 5 version of Miles, I do plan on giving them the extra 20 for that remastered version of the first game. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I almost don't even want to go back to Peter. That's how in love with Miles I am now.
Good.
How he controls mechanically. I'm man, he is fun to play. Those Venom Strikes and the camouflage. Oh, I didn't even mention the camouflage. Damn it.
Yeah, that's a pretty big part.
So the camouflage adds more emphasis to stealth.
Yeah,
in some ways that are really cool. In the first game, stealth was okay, but it was kind of just there. You could do it if you want, but it's not like the game forced you to do it, except for maybe a couple of story missions that you had to be stealthy. But in this one, you jump in, you're stealthy, you get caught, you might engage in that one guy who caught you and take him out real quick, but then the hordes of guys are coming, so you got to get out of there.
Yeah.
You just hit that invisibility and you just zip to somewhere else and they're gone, and you can re-enter stealth mode.
Yeah,
fucking love it, because it especially in some levels, it adds more complexity to your environments and how you build your stages and stuff. So it was so fun to just become this ghost, almost, of there he is! Fuck! Where did he go? And then they're freaking out, and they're it felt like playing Batman, the Arkham game.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. It was really fun that element was in there. Really, really enjoyed that. And now that I've beaten it, I have to sit back and wonder, and they have a little post-credit sequence that hints at where Spider-Man 2 is going. It's more of what we saw in the post-credits for the first game.
Uh-huh.
They've introduced a new character that is very exciting that he's there.
Oh, yeah.
And what it could possibly mean. So now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, man, like, what is Spider-Man 2 going to look like? When does, the symbiote suit come in? And when does Venom come in?
That's
and all
gonna be
this
a fun
stuff.
part.
And, Peter's going to do it. And now we have Miles. Is there going to be a Peter versus Miles moment later down the line? Maybe in Spider-Man 2 or 3 or something? Oh, I'm ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for it. Oh, God. I'm so excited to see where this franchise is going. And this is just a great little add-on. Little touches, little spice.
Little side quest to go on before the bigger event.
Yeah. I'll say overall, animations in cutscenes and stuff, they seemed more complex. Everything seems to look better.
I wonder what it would look like if you played it on the PS5.
On a PS5, it would look incredible with the ray tracing and all that cool or fancy next gen stuff that we're getting.
Yeah.
As of right now, it just looks like a pretty good PS4 game.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do want to touch on something that I think is really cool, is the music in this game and the culture of this game. Miles is biracial in that he's black and Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm.
There is Puerto Rican culture all over this game, and Spanish culture all over this game. And even in that, they make room and find room for a bunch of black and hip hop culture to be in there, which I super appreciate because I love hip hop culture so much. So when the main theme comes in and it's got 808s and hi-hats in there and it's perfect, oh god, it's so good to hear.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. Like, the music in this game is fantastic. For me, specifically. I love it. And it's something me as a hip-hop fan doesn't get that often, because for whatever reason, even though I see the amount of crossover these two mediums have, for whatever reason, they don't cross over as much as they should. There is so much video games and hip-hop have in common, but they just don't connect that much. It connects more on the hip-hop side. You'll have rappers mention video games all the time.
Yeah.
But it's so rare that we get hip-hop in video games. So I really, really appreciate that. And it gives me, as a white man, it gives me just the slightest view into what it feels like to see, I'll say, see a culture that you're a part of be represented. Mm-hmm. Gives me the slightest window because, one, I'm not from that culture, and two,
it gives people from that culture something to be represented.
Yeah, and two, I have no clue what that actually feels like, but it gives me just a little sight. I'm like, oh, that's what it's like. Mm-hmm. But like that times like 1,000. Yeah. Okay, I can see why streamers are brought to tears when they just see the Puerto Rican flag in their day.
Yeah.
I also saw a little bit of I think it's trivia. I was listening to one of the developers talk, and he said Miles' suit comes down in a V, so it's like a webbed head, like your normal Spider-Man suit. But from his shoulders down, it goes into a V, and that V is supposed to represent the Puerto Rican flag.
Ah, yeah.
Which I'm like, oh, that's super cool.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's really my review of Spider-Man Miles Morales. It's great. It's worth the money. The PS4 version, probably not the best way to play it.
I'm actually surprised you didn't just wait for the PS5.
I saw a clip on Twitter in which someone synced, because the Into the Spider-Verse suit is in it.
I saw the same thing.
And in that, there's a suit mod in which you can cut Miles's frame rate in half, so it looks like he does in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. And then they cued the song from the movie where he has the whole
somebody cued the "What's Up Danger"
moment,
song, which is the climax of Into the Spider-Verse. Someone cued that to a moment of someone playing it in the game with that suit mod and that suit, and I was like, no. My little nerdy Spider-Man heart went, I need this now.
Yeah.
So, there we go. And I mean, I'm going to play it again for PS5 anyway, so it's fine.
Play it again. 9 hours again.
I'll play it again. It's this is they've crafted the perfect, just hop in and swing around the city for a little bit game.
Yeah.
It's just I've got 20 minutes to kill. Let me go swing around the city and stop some crimes. Let me just go have a little fun, and then, I'll continue on my day.
Yeah.
Other than that has been your episode of Two Penny Gamescast, episode 17 by my count.
Cut through them.
We're cutting through. We're almost to that big 20, Connor. Almost to that.
Isn't that a big 20? I thought the 50 is like the first thing where you're like, oh, it's 50.
I mean, it's cool for us.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
It's cool for us as we're just getting started. Anyways, you can catch us Monday, 8 a.m., YouTube and SoundCloud. I've been your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott.
And my name is Connor Elliott, and I am exiting myself from the scene, because my name is Connor Elliott, and I can do that.
I can't tell you how much I hate.
I love it, too. And I know it's I know it, it's good to deny you.
Because it's unprofessional.
It's very unprofessional, but we're not trying to be professional.
It's shitty, and we're going to stomp this habit. We're going to stomp this out before it becomes a habit.
No, it's going to become a habit.
No,
I think it's forming. I see the
all
habit
right,
forming.
All right. Say, this episode's run over an hour and a half. Say bye to the people, Connor.
I already said bye. I just